I'm less inclined to click on an article. I think maybe it's subconsciously that articles allow me to do more research. I can research the author. I can,
You mean you're more inclined to click on an article?
Yeah, more inclined to click on an article. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because, I feel subconsciously I can do more research, right? Like I can research the author. I can follow a loose paper trail to some other things, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, you'd rather be able to vet the info. So that's good.
Or the infographer. Ish, new word made up by Ish.
Right. Right.
The infographer.
Yeah. Certainly. So
hey,
yeah,
we're gonna be making up some words on Zoom that are practical. What's the guy Queen's Flip made up the word mediaologist, and he's actually trying to get it put in Webster's dictionary, the whole nine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he calls himself a mediaologist, which is like a media reporter by his definition.
Right. I feel like there's probably a term for that already, but no, I mean.
Well, good. we can have synonyms.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, a term that more accurately describes what you do is good, instead of just like a vlogger or whatever. And yeah, no, I guess there's room for that term, right? Yeah.
That's one cool thing about language. It allows room for synonyms. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and even synonyms can more accurately describe what you're looking for, right? A vlogger could just be any old person who's
Are we recording
making videos? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Could be any old person who's doing logs on the video, but a media reporter has like more, has more like bona fides or is like putting more into it to make sure that the story is actually legit.
I mean, personally, I hope he's successful in what he's trying to do with his word. I just do, because as a person who likes words, and I like the idea of someone, it started as a joke and then he took it seriously, and he's taking it very seriously. You know what I mean? So I'm for him on it. It's not a word that I think I'll be saying regularly because it ties my tongue a little.
Right.
Mediaologist, you know what I mean? But I guess so does infographer.
I mean, I would just cut it and say mediologist.
Yeah, mediologist.
Yeah, the extra syllable seems a little silly to me.
Yeah. So it'd be like, instead of saying infographer, it'd be like infographer.
Well, yeah, except I wouldn't do it that time, but yeah, that's the idea for sure.
Well, right, like you get autobiographies, biographies. That graphy part is like writing, right? So, so I guess written information, you can be an infographer.
Yeah, speaking of which, what kind of I don't want to say bothers me, but what's kind of I don't even want to say irritating, but what's kind of weird is the fact that people say, and you say it too, that people say biopic. That's kind of like
some
weird.
People say biopic.
Yeah, well, to me that is what the intuitive, like what it sounds like it should be, right? Because it's a biography and it's a pic, so it's a biopic. But yeah, biopic sounds like a medical procedure or something like that you don't want to get. Like if
it's more natural for me to say biopic.
Yeah, it's something well, I don't know, because it rhymes with myopic, maybe.
But I mean, it's taken from the word biography. It's not synonymous with their roots, right? That's how that word is pronounced, like a biography. So then which is a written version of a biopic or biopic. You see what I'm saying? Like they don't say biography, they say biography.
Right. Hmm. Biography.
I don't think either is correct. I just think it's where people choose to stress, the syllable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think either is incorrect. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's interesting about biography. Biopic. Yeah, that's something that I'll have to reconsider. I thought it was obvious on the one, but I'll have to reconsider that. Um, Makes me feel like I'm getting a dangerous procedure. So blackface in
right, because the
cyberspace.
only difference between those two words is they're substituting graphy, which is writing, for pic, which is you view.
Right, right.
Anyway, you were
Yeah.
about to say?
No, that's good. I'll have to look deeper into that. I have to wonder if there's another rule that goes into effect there. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I was saying the one subject is blackface in cyberspace,
I don't know
unpacking the.
anything about this.
Oh, okay. Well, unpacking the racism of digital blackface in the information age. So this gets into everything from the overuse of like hyper hyperbolic like black pictures as like gifs and stuff like that to like all like the TikToks where you have these young girls like doing this crazy stuff like wearing these young white girls like wearing long nails and eating hot Cheetos and like talking like really ghetto and like almost like to the point where they're wearing blackface, right?
So I have a problem with that particular picture that you just painted. Not you, but that you know what I mean, that you described to me. The reason why I have a problem with that is because I I don't like the term ghetto as it applies to black people,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't like that when white people act a certain way, it is considered ghetto. Like, I don't. What you described to me is not what it means to act or portray some black, any more than when you and I speak the way we speak. It
Mm-hmm.
means to talk white.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? At least to me,
Yeah.
right? Like, because you and I speak a certain way, we're articulate, we have a certain level of education, but it doesn't even matter. I don't think education fully applies to how people speak anyway. You understand what?
Right.
Because I know some people who are articulate and not educated. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make, I don't want to partner the two as if they're, you know, permanently linked or anything. But
Sure.
for me, when I hear people say, well, that white person, you hear the term wigger or what have you, and only for the context of this digital blackface thing, I don't like anymore that when a white person puts on some fingernails and talks in a certain type of slang and eats Cheetos, that's associated with being black than I do when black people are articulate, it's associated with being white.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. Um, in this case, these are people that are clearly um, stereotyping us, and they're clearly behaving in a way where they've taken something that they've seen, created like a stereotype out of it, and now they're mocking it. Right? She's got the
Okay.
long, she's got the long nails on. She's got ridiculous long eyelashes on. She's like practically smacking her gums when she's talking, and now she's asking for the hot Cheetos, which is just something. I don't know exactly where it came from. It could have come from Orange is the New Black or something. I think that may have popularized it in popular culture, that that was a black thing or something, but it certainly is. And you should see the video because it certainly is.
That's interesting. Could someone interpret that And for the listeners out there who may be listening, I don't have no offensive intent when I say this. I just want to say, I'm just saying this because I'd like to explore it. Could someone interpret that as runway tranny culture, transvestite culture? Those
I
same qualities that those girls are. I don't know. But could someone who's not coming at it from, let's say, a perspective of race see it like, oh, well, that's how they, my daughter watches a show, right? Her and my wife watch a show where,
mm-hmm.
It's a competition between, uh, you know, people who have had, you know, uh, gender reassignment surgeries. And many of the people, for the purposes of the show, they are very much in the vein of what you just described, with the exception of eating Cheetos.
Yeah,
And
yeah, no.
obviously, this isn't something that's synonymous to all people who have gender reassignment. These are, you know, people trying to be entertaining and be in the entertainment industry. So they may be even translating a negative stereotype that is ascribed to that culture. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Is that something that could be like, could
Well,
someone
how
who's not
are they
coming at it?
speaking? Well, I mean, are they speaking in a way that seems totally unnatural,
Of
contrived,
course,
and mocking?
of course. And I don't want to go into a realm where I come off as very negative because it's not my intent, right? So, but yes, certainly when you say unnatural the way they're speaking, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like, yeah, yeah.
And does it sound like they're trying to sound black?
Um, in many cases, yeah. But I don't
Um,
know what that really sounds like, right? Like, so it's kind of hard for me because, like, what does that really sound like?
I mean, if you've seen white people mocking black people,
See,
you know
my
what it
first
sounds like.
thought isn't that they're trying to sound black. My first thought is you sound stupid. Right, you see what I'm saying? Which is one of the reasons why, like, when I said what I said earlier, where I really don't see that description as trying to be black. I see it as you're trying, and I get it that there's this bigger picture where I guess that, but I can't conform to saying that because I don't think black people are stupid. I don't think that the way white people try to mimic black people is accurate. I think they just are acting stupid. You understand what I'm saying?
You get no arguments from me that they're acting stupid.
I even
That's for
feel
sure.
funny saying that you're trying to sound black when I see a video and you're doing something that I think is at once like dumb. And it's like, man, do I want to even say you're trying to act black? Because on some level, am I calling black people dumb?
I understand what you're getting at, but I feel like we got to call a spade a spade. We got to know what folks are doing, whether you want to say what the enemy is doing or when someone's trying to play you.
That's where we
Um,
differ, I think. I do agree calling a spade a spade. I guess what I was ultimately going to say with the digital blackface, the examples, and I guess I'm going to let you continue so I can get more, but the examples you've given me aren't something I wore over me because I'm like, well, that's not digital. I guess if you want to call it that and make that a hill that we're going to try to fight our way up and die on or survive on, I guess I personally don't want to be like, oh, you're trying to act or sound black, and like I'm not going to give you that. Is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I mean, this is, it's a topic, it's a discussion.
Oh
It
yeah,
happens.
for sure.
It certainly happens all the time. I mean, mainstream culture is often trying to jack our culture and either profit off of it or use it in an insensitive way. Um, Whether it's a hill to die on or not, it's still something to be acknowledged. In my opinion, is some bullshit. Um, and I mean, this stuff is like other people call it cringe worthy. I mean, and it is. I mean, I've been talking about, I mean, I'm just gonna call a spade here. I mean, the whole thing with like white girls twerking and all that shit. Um, at the end of the day, like a lot of people are just like doing things that they just either don't understand or just like look foolish
Hello.
doing. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah.
I just missed everything you're saying because you just butt dialed my phone.
I butt dialed your phone.
Yeah, my phone just
Oh.
rang and it was you.
Oh shit. My bad.
And it blocked me from hearing anything on the stream.
Oh. Okay. My bad. Um. So yeah, I was just saying like the cringe worthy nature of this stuff includes like includes like white girls twerking and doing things that they kind of look foolish doing, and
Oh,
that they
opening
don't.
a can of Ishmael worms. I want all of
Yeah,
our
we've
people
talked.
listening to hold me accountable where you think I should, because I'm gonna say some things and I'm gonna stand on them. Anyway, go on, Mike. I mean, Flav. My
Yeah,
bad.
I know that we've differed on this topic before. Um, you know, um, yeah, it's just in general, it's the idea that white people are like willing to like jack things from the culture, use them kind of inappropriately and mockingly, and then it just kind of becomes a mainstream thing to do where people don't even think about it anymore. And I'm kind of like summarizing the
Mm.
idea here. There's something about, and in a video they talk about this. There's something about TikTok where this is perpetuated because the idea of TikTok is there's a competitive nature where I do this video. Now you see if you can do the video better than me, but we're like imitating each other. So the imitating idea
Yes,
of
that's
it,
absolutely an aspect of TikTok.
yeah. So the imitating aspect of it and the the one-upmanship of it all kind of encourages people to just kind of like mindlessly try to copy or mimic each other and what have you.
So Flav, consider, and you already know my position. It's going to be on the opposite, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that you said negatively mimicking aspects of the culture. I'm glad you used that term, because that, had you not, I would have had a totally different conversation. So I'm glad that's important, right? That's the operating term right there, right? Your word negative. That changes the conversation. Because if we're talking about a white girl, and let's just add some toxic masculinity into this. If we're talking about a white girl that looks good and is built and can twerk and is twerking, no one's complaining. But you use the word negatively. So then that makes it puts it into a different perspective, right? Because no one is complaining if people are going to appreciate the twerk video. You see what I'm saying? Like, no one's going to be like, oh, she's taking from the culture, because like black people can waltz, right? We can tango. You know what I mean? We can also ballroom dance. You know what I mean? And so can, other marginalized people. So again, I'm
Well,
kind of
that's actually
segueing.
funny. That's actually funny that you say that because like the more I research things, a lot of that stuff you and usually ends up being taken from us. Like the stuff that
Well,
we assume is some white shit usually ends up, when you research it, it was actually taken from us. But go ahead.
with the exception of, say, the Waltz, which is German.
Okay.
I mean, other cultures have, black people weren't the only people dancing in human history.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, there are, and it's interesting because when we use the term taken from us, we got to be really careful, because there are instances when we're talking about culture vulture and where we've been robbed of things in history, and then there are as many instances where cultures just influenced each other by proximity.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So then it wasn't really taken, it was just infused, or a meld. Like you understand what I'm saying? Just because we interacted or intercessed with each other, or by proximity we influenced each other, and we
But how
certainly
did
took.
we come to be in proximity though?
Well, it depends, right? Like it depends. And when I say in proximity is a big word, right? It's certainly, we can talk about you know uh subjugation. What we can also talk about integration, i.e. through subjugation or otherwise. And I'm not talking about American culture. I'm just talking about world culture.
Okay.
right? Like, so proximity certainly is a big blanket statement that can be broken down into several different, negative, positive, or even neutral examples, right?
Right.
So, and again, that's why I preface, there is absolutely culture vulturing, right? But we have a lot of dances or dance styles, certainly African influence. Like, can we say that the tango isn't? But it's also heavy Latin influence, right? And that may
Uh-huh.
be a direct result of some sort of subjugation, right? But the peoples involved, be they Latin and or African on some level, may have been the subjugated and found themselves in proximity or intercessing or procreating, or you understand what I'm saying? Or exchanging cultural ideas.
Yeah, yeah, I understand for sure. But in some cases, it is uh, digital blackface or cultural appropriation, and that's what we're focusing on
Well,
in,
see,
in this
I
video.
think I have a problem. So far, the examples I'm giving, I have a problem with all of them. The memes, with the exception of directly taking for a negative reason black people's faces and making, tomfoolery or clownery or buffoonery out of it.
Well,
Then
that's the first example I gave you was
yeah, that's what I
tomfoolery
said
and
with the
clownery.
memes, because I have to be able to separate what I call memology. This is my own word. It's been my word for some years now. The memology. So when I look at memology, I have to determine, well, are we just using people?
Wait, can a
And it
video
doesn't.
be a meme? Can a video be a meme?
You no, we mentioned memes.
No,
You
no,
were
the
saying
video.
that a part of the first example you said as a part of digital blackface was using black people's faces in memes.
Oh, oh, oh. Well, I said gifs actually, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay, well then I guess for me it's hard to decipher, because a GIF can just be a meme, right? Or it could be a GIF, meaning a screen capture from a GIF can be a meme, and vice versa, right? Like a lot of memes are literally just a screen capture from a video that either becomes a GIF or a meme.
I guess. I mean, I always thought they were two different things, but
No, they are. But how many memes? Come on, there's the meme of Kevin Hart like looking to the side with the wild look on his face, which is also a GIF. In the GIF, it just has him blinking his eyes. In the meme, it's the exact same photo. It's just a still photo.
with no words.
Well, it depends. People put whatever words they want to put on it, right? Like memes are
Okay,
created by
uh,
people, so people,
okay,
you know what I mean? I'm
I see.
just using the foundation for whether it's going to be a meme or a GIF. That's a classic example. That
Okay,
one is also a GIF. You see what I'm saying? So someone either took the video from his stand up and made it into a GIF, and someone took the still photo and made it into several different memes.
right.
And it usually means that you said something stupid. Not he's being stupid, but he's looking at you like you said something stupid.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
understand what
That's
I'm saying?
yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like memes and GIFs kind of cross over into each other depending on who's the author, right? They kind of overlap, but you're right. They are different. I'm not
Well,
saying
yeah.
they're the same.
To me, you can make several different memes using that still photo because I mean, the moment you change the words, it's a
Yep.
different meme.
Yep. Sometimes people don't even put words because the picture says 1,000 words. It literally says, "Are you stupid? Really? Is that what you just said?" You know what I mean? It like says so many things that sometimes you don't even have to use words. And I don't think that I use that as an example, but I don't think it is an example of negatively using a black person, because I think there are better examples, or a marginalized person. But in this case, we're talking black because we're talking about digital blackface, right? So I think there certainly are negative. I haven't seen many. I can't cite any, but I'm sure I have and just never thought about it, which speaks to what you were saying about how we kind of just accept it, even if we wouldn't really accept it, you know?
Yeah, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem for sure. Yeah.
Because I'm sure I have seen that. I'm sure I've seen it with, white people and Chinese people and Latin people, but again, we're talking about digital blackface. It's weird, right? Because it's kind of like the 80s, right? Like in the 80s, if you turn on the TV, HBO or movie channel, you're just gonna see things that are so like you couldn't make half of the entertainment that we just kind of casually accepted in the 80s today.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird. I feel like that's what we're experiencing with the internet, with social media, with just, media period. Like half of the stuff that we're cool with, as we continue to progress, we're going to look back on and be like, oh, we were cool with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, certainly some of us will, and certainly some of us, I think, are kind of like cringing all the way through it, and are, that's why we're talking about it, because we want to figure out like what kind of world we want to live in, or what we want to accept, or just what we want to call stupid. You know?
I think that's what it comes down to, right? Like for me, it's about just calling it stupid and moving on.
Yeah. I mean,
For me,
I think it's worth examining. I mean, people have been fighting for a smarter world for a long time, and you know, I mean, some people have more of a stake than others, right? Like, if you're a parent and you see your kid acting like these kids are acting on these TikToks, it's more than just cringing for you, especially depending on the age of the kid. It's like, I want to correct this because I don't want my kids making me look foolish out here. That goes for whatever ethnicity you are. But I'm
see, I
sure
think it's
those.
not so deep.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I think mockery of when we're being mocked, and simultaneously, we're not seen as we're not we're not being respected as people, and we're not being treated the way we want to be treated. Um, I think there's an effect. I think there's an effect there for sure. I think as a people, it's worth having a conversation. That doesn't mean we have to agree, but I think the conversation
No,
is
see, I
still
mean, I'm having
substantial.
me personally, I'm having the conversation. My thoughts within the conversation is in response to, what you were saying is I don't think it is as deep as what you're saying. And I totally get it. But when you describe what you described to me, what I hear is, parents, 10, 15 years ago talking about, video games are going to make my child shoot people.
Yeah, but
And I
that
know
is
that's not what you're saying, but that's what I hear. It's like, these are kids we're talking about. At least that's what you said. That's the words you used.
yeah. Well, no, listen. I mean, parents are, you know, parents do not like their kids looking stupid. If you want to compare that to like shooting people up and stuff like that, that's fine because I mean parents do overreact a lot of times, but it's serious. Like you could not act stupid in my household. That was
Yeah, but
not.
you and I are exceptions. We can't speak to we can't speak to Americans who have shown at least, you know over the past 2 to 3 years that there is a an acceptance of ignorant actions. You said something that resonated with me, right? Like we want you said something about, smarter people or something like that, and the thing is, some of these things that we may be calling for are come with the expectation that as a whole we're going to all just be smarter. It's a lot of stupid people, a lot.
I got you, but like e- even amongst like in any situation, if you're acting like stupid, you're gonna be called out for it. even if you yourself think like those are stupid people in that household, they're still going to be calling each other out, saying, don't be stupid. Like stupidity is not a thing that like households reward. Even if to you that whole family looks stupid, to them, you know, they're telling Johnny, who just dropped his, you know, avocado toast face flat on the dirty floor, not to pick it up and eat it. You know, I
So
mean,
I
they're
watched a video some years ago that was proliferated on social media. The video was headlined "Trailer Trash Barbie." It was a little white girl playing with a dead squirrel while her father was filming it. We have
yeah,
stupid people in this country.
yeah. No one's gonna argue with that. But Ish, the reason that that video even exists is because many people thought that that was stupid. So like,
Yes, but
so
what
like
you
many
said was
people
it
were looking
doesn't
at
go in
that video.
households. Parents don't want their children looking stupid, and here was her father filming it.
Yeah, well, nice anecdote. I mean, you're only proving my point. Like, how many households looked at that and said, "Bobby, don't you ever be that person"?
Yeah, but how many? At least one household didn't.
Yeah,
We're
well,
taught
one
you
is
you
one
you
is not a lot. One is not a lot.
Yeah, but but it
It's an
matters.
exception.
One matters when you say parents don't want their kids looking stupid.
Okay, let's not do this semantic game. Okay,
It's not a
like
semantic game. Like don't
so
don't do
like
that to
so
me. Let me
so
let me make a counterpoint that I feel is valid.
okay.
Like let me do that. Like we're having a conversation. I didn't bring it up for no reason. I
Okay.
brought it up because of something that you said that made me think of that. I'm not trying to be semantic with you. Words have meaning. So if you say something to me, then I absolutely am taking the value of the meaning of your words to me. Like I can't discount that you said to me, Ish, parents don't want their kids looking stupid in regards to their kids doing something stupid. You see what I'm saying? Like I can't, like that's what you said to me.
I know that's what I said.
So
So
then I
so
can't
so prove
discount it.
me. You can't discount
No, 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 no,
one
no.
exception.
Well, because I can't accept that speaks to all parents. When I painted a picture to you that there are some very stupid Americans in this country, as evidenced by the past 2 to 3 years.
Okay, that's fine, but give me more than one video then, because that's
There's
like
tons of videos.
okay.
There's videos
That's
all over the
okay.
internet of people of all colors doing dumb things.
Oh, okay, that's better than like trying to defend this one video,
Well, I
saying, "Well,
gave you
you
a
said
specific example just because that's what we do in the course of conversation.
right," but when I try to attack the credibility of that one video rather than saying, "Well, Mike, there's tons of these videos," you said, "Well, you said parents," as if
That's the reason why I even mentioned that video. Because I
yes,
was
as
giving you an
if
example of a parent that accepted stupid, not only accepted, participated in the
yeah, but
stupidity of their child.
yeah, but one example is just not. I don't know. I don't get the point of bringing up one example when we're
Well,
talking about
because
people in general.
so here's the point of bringing up one example. It is a fair thing to do if the premise is parents don't accept, don't want their kids looking stupid. That was the premise. So
Yes.
then
So
I
so
can,
this is what
if I
this.
cite an example, it's fair.
Okay. So this is what I'm attacking. This is what I don't like, and this is what I'm calling semantics because I didn't use the word um, most parents or a lot of parents. Like I don't know what
So
what are we doing
that's
here, Ish?
hypocritical because you're telling me that I should have said there are tons of videos. You're asking me to do the same thing and then telling me that I'm wrong for not for criticizing or being critical when you don't use the word most.
No, because when we talk in general, like you know me, I don't believe in like I I don't believe in like absolutes. So like I'm never if I say anything to you like you know it's if I
We're
say
also
anything
talking in
if
front of an audience who can't know what you believe.
yeah, but I mean okay, regardless of what I believe, when you say something about people it's got to be in general. Like it's never like every single person. Like this is oh god, I don't even. This is like so frustrating. I don't even know how to put it into words. Like
This is good though.
no,
This is good.
nothing is everything, right?
Hmm.
Like when you're talking about any subset of people, you're not talking about 100% of people. So if I tell you like, yeah, parents love their kids, they want the best for their kids, and you show me one example where a parent killed their kids, that hasn't taken from my argument. Unless you can show me, so many examples that you can say, well, it's actually a pretty high percentage of people who don't fuck with their kids, right?
Yeah, but
So
Mike, my response to your premise was there are stupid people in this country, as evidenced by the past 2 to 3 years. So I get the same benefit of the general doubt that you're asking for, and
no,
then I cited
no,
an example.
no, no. The reason that you don't is because your opposition to my premise is based on a false premise. It's based on the fact that I'm talking about like every single parent. And then you showed me like one example as if that
My
was like a
opposition wasn't
counter.
based on that. My opposition is based on the idea, right, that we have to have smarter people because parents don't like their kids looking stupid. Not that it's every single parent, but my opposition is valid because I said to you, we have it comes with the expectation that we expect all people to be smarter.
Okay, this is what I'll say. Um, Regardless of how stupid some people may look to us, at the end of the day, there is some expectation to like, to want your kids to not look stupid. I don't know. I don't know how that's like a controversial statement. Like
I don't think it's controversial at all,
people don't want their kids looking stupid. They just don't. I mean,
except
this
for the people that don't care.
well, yeah. Okay. Well, except for the exceptions for sure. Definitely except for the exceptions.
And the
Um
thing is, there are a lot. I don't even know that there are more or less. I believe that there are more people that don't want their kids looking stupid than there are people that do. But then I also believe that there's just a lot of people that are ill-equipped to even, for it to even register.
well, yeah, it's gonna hit different for some people. And those people are gonna be like, what do you think, you're better than me? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna hit different for some people.
yeah. And unfortunately, don't be mad at me, internet world. You find it in all cultures, but you got some ignorant white people. Did you just laugh at me, bro?
No, I'm not laughing at you. No, I'm just laughing at like I'm just laughing at what you said and how that's I don't know. I just think that's funny.
Are we gonna get flagged?
No, I mean,
I
who
don't
knows?
listen. I don't mean no. Listen, I
The
love
world is
white people.
sensitive.
Listen. I don't want to be the
Some of your
guy that's
best
like I got a
friends,
black friend. You know what I
yep,
mean?
some of your best friends. I can vouch for Ish. Some of his best friends are white.
Here we go. We're crossing into some territory. Listen, you find ignorant people in all cultures, but we are talking about, the idea or the concept of digital blackface. So, yeah, obviously, we're going to be talking about the ignorant perpetrators of such, social media buffoonery.
Yeah. Well,
That doesn't
I
mean we're
think
talking about white people in general. We're
I
talking
I
about the ignorant ones.
I think the idea of the video is that blackface is kind of morphed throughout the years, right? In the beginning, it was like
That's an
minstrel.
interesting perspective.
In the beginning, it was minstrel shows and we couldn't even get jobs as actors, so white folks had to put on, charcoal or whatever, and paint their face
That's
up.
the like gut punch statement to support your whole perspective that I 100% I see what you're saying. Like that
And
it has
then,
morphed.
yeah, and then years later, it wasn't, that was seen as an egregious form. No, what nobody was doing that, but years later, you had kids putting on blackface for Halloween, and they were like, "Hey, what are you complaining about? It's Halloween. We're playing dress up, right?" And they thought they had a point. Some people still do, unless they're politicians and they try to like walk it
Hmm.
back or get away from it. But they're like, "Hey, we're just, trying to dress up like so and so, our favorite character who happens to be black." So that was like a thing. And then nowadays with the digital era and the TikTok stuff, people are doing these little challenges and people are doing these little funny videos. And yeah, your what would I call it? Your aversion to the word ghetto was interesting because that's one of those words I don't really sling around a lot,
Oh yeah, no.
but I feel that it does have its place in this sort of conversation, right? Because when we're being made fun of, they're not, making fun of some like, some middle class black person that they think that they can, um, understand or share something in common with. They're making fun of someone who, they're really making fun of someone who's like they're really making a caricature of us.
It's interesting how we talk about the word or how we talk about the term, blackface morphing for the modern era, so to speak. Just,
Hmm.
and then we look at the word ghetto, right? Like it's more I think the word ghetto has done the same thing, right? And the reason why I have an aversion to it is because I, without having any intimate knowledge, assume that it can be very offensive to members of the Jewish Holocaust because ghetto meant something different to them.
Oh yeah, I mean for sure. Um, well, yeah, for sure. This term used in America has it's certainly been a term associated with our folks,
Right,
regardless of the history. I mean, there's some people who don't even know, that history of the word ghetto,
right,
for
right.
sure.
It's
But
something
yeah,
I'm very careful with, and I know you're very careful with. I'm just saying it for the posterity's sake and the purpose of the show. It's one of the reasons why I have an aversion to it because I often see people throw it around freely. Usually, white people who are in interracial relationships throw it around a lot and have black children. You know what I mean? And
mm,
I've found myself in conversations saying, "Hey, listen, while has been a social norm to say it in our culture, I don't even agree with us saying it because even the history of that word in our culture in America is very negative to us, right? Like we were systemic processes, purposeful systemic processes created these situations known as ghettos, right? Like
yeah,
purposeful, like these were purposeful. You understand what I'm saying? Like this was a planned thing to put black people in these communities where they could not prosper, where they could not excel. You understand what I'm saying? And they became known as ghettos. And the term was borrowed from what was done to Jewish people in Europe.
yeah,
So it's like it the meaning is the same. Even the impact is the same. Like we're not being taken off to furnaces and being burned, but from a psychological perspective, we might as well be being taken carted off to furnaces and being burned.
yeah. I mean, for sure, it's yeah, for sure. I mean, like other words, that are used. either bias or about us. There's negative and positive, or there's different uses of the word for sure. Um, and I mean, when that word is used by white people, I think it feels more offensive because I think it's like someone who's not in your group kind of casting a wide net or making assumptions about parts
Hmm.
of your group,
Hmm.
right? Where when black people use it, it's much more specific,
Still
right?
negative in most cases, but yes.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and it's used for a specific purpose, but yeah, I'd say it's not a positive thing. I mean, I think we all have people, in our family, um, who may have been considered ghetto or whatever. And
I mean, I think
I
it
mean,
goes back to people being smarter and educating and informing themselves, right? So that we have an understanding of, like, when we refer to our brothers or sisters as being ghetto for a reason or another, we should really understand the root of that word and what it really means, even though we may have morphed it into something different and no less negative. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
that's one of the things that I'm cognizant of. I listen, and I'm not preaching to you, Mike, because it's not a term that you use. It's
yeah,
not a term that you don't throw this term around. So I'm not preaching to you. I'm just, just for the sake of conversation. It's something I talk to people and I've said, listen, that's a term that we should not embrace. What people question whether we should embrace the term nigga or not. That Let's put that aside. The one we should certainly not embrace is ghetto, because it's we might as well be saying, man, that girl acts so plantation.
hmm,
You understand what I'm saying? Like, we might as well just substitute ghetto with plantation. She acts so cotton field. Man, that nigga cotton field. You know what I mean?
yeah,
like, that's at least how I see it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We really need to understand this word. Maybe we need to educate our culture on what this means, so we don't take this word and use it towards each other. That's a word we can't really appropriate and change the meaning of, because the meaning is still negative. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it still means something very negative, and it impacts two cultures.
right.
Of course, again, not preaching to you, Mike. You know what I mean? I'm saying this for the sake of the show and those who may be listening, and just throwing my opinion out there
Well,
on that.
I mean, for people, uh, I mean, like, people can grow up in the same neighborhood, right? And some of them feel like they want to rise up above any negative connotations of the neighborhood.
Hmm.
And then there are people who live in that neighborhood who, are just
Hood. I
kind of,
think hood is a better term.
well, yeah. I mean, yeah. There are some. I think there are some nuances between hood and ghetto.
Hmm.
Um, I think
Having a negative term to describe people, I don't think inherently is bad,
right,
right? I think
right.
having a term with a connotation that speaks to something horrible is bad. You see what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah. I don't know. I don't necessarily. Well, the connotation. I don't know. I don't really. Uh, I'm not really committed to adding, the Jewish experience to what we're talking about, um, regardless of the history of the word.
See,
Um,
I am, only because I think of my own plight, and I don't want Indian Americans in 50 years to appropriate the term nigger and ignore what I went through based upon that word.
right, but the history of the word, like, the word was a word, right? Like, I don't think the word was born. Um, Okay. So, I mean, the history of the term ghetto began in the early 16th century. So,
Hmm.
I don't. So, like, that was not. That's not really, you know, that's not
Well,
associated with the Holocaust.
I'm gonna give you an example to maybe give you a different perspective. You and I once had a conversation about a word that did not mean what it meant,
Hmm.
and a guy got fired for saying it to a black woman,
I remember. Yep.
and it didn't even mean what it meant, but your position was because it was close enough. So, given that, right, we know that ghetto didn't mean what it originally, what it would come to mean originally, but yet and still it did, and it does impact people because of what it would come to be associated with. And just based on that, I would, that's the reason why I add a connotation, and that's the reason why I think the way that I think about the word. Wow, you're right, it didn't originally mean what it meant. It came to be associated with something horrible to people, and
Yeah.
because of it, it gives people, you know, there isn't anyone alive that can resonate with the original meaning of the word in the 16th century, but there are certainly people alive who were affected on some level through their recent ancestors or what have you by how it was used in the 20th century
Hmm.
or what it was associated with. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So from that, that's just, that would be my retort, for lack of a better term, to, in this particular line of conversation.
Mm.
That's something that you educated me on, that we just have to be cognizant of how words affect people, even
Right.
if they don't have the meaning you understand what I'm saying? Like, we have
Hmm.
to be respectful and cognizant of how it could impact people, which, again, I learned from you. That was a learning moment for me, because I
Right.
was ready to throw the bath water, the baby, all of it out the window on that word. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, the guy got fired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and,
I
and
mean,
again, for me, I may be overly sensitive because I care about my culture. And what I mean by that is to tie those together, my overly sensitive to the Jewish culture and caring about my culture. So I care about my culture. I don't want words that were harmful to me to be commonplace to someone else down the line. And I'm assuming that other cultures feel the same way. And I feel like if I respect those cultures, then I can reinforce the expectations I have for how people treat mine.
right. Well, I mean, I think one big difference is, I mean, this was a word that had to do with the way enclaves of people were like placed amongst like the larger place that they lived. And
Hmm.
so while it had some negative connotations, the word itself wasn't it wasn't a word as derisive as like the N word or something.
But even with that having been said, as you and I researched on a great show that I wish we could find, the same can be said for nigger, right? The root word Niger, which we researched, was an old Spanish term that just meant black. It wasn't derisive.
Well, right, but that's I mean, now we're talking about root words. Like I'm talking about the word itself, like no root,
Well,
like just the
well,
word ghetto, like
in this case, when you say root word, right? What we're just talking about is a transliteration. While it is the root word Niger, it's just and it doubles as both because we're literally talking about a transliteration rather than actually losing the root. We're talking about a change in pronunciation from culture to culture.
right,
Still the same word. You understand what I'm saying? So it does double as a root word, but only in that it becomes transliterated from culture to culture, not changed, just transliterated
right.
into something very negative.
Well, yeah. I mean, once it's changed, it's certainly a different word. That's for sure.
Well, it's a transliteration. It's literally, and it only becomes the different word because the American pronunciation of the word, like we were in slavery for 400 plus years, it just became such the way that we pronounce it just was prevalent. But it's a transliteration in as much as Pablo, or excuse me, Paulo or Pablo or Pedro is Peter.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's literally a transliteration. Pedro just became Peter. Niger just became nigger.
Right.
The thing about when you talk about German terms, so it's interesting, right? We're really talking about, why am I not thinking of the term? We're really talking about language, right? So English is a Germanic language. So in a lot of cases, we don't necessarily transliterate words from German. We just take the word. Kindergarten, ghetto.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just take the word.
Mm-hmm.
Problem, right? Problem in German is Problem. Like, we just take the word because English is a Germanic language. There's several instances in the English language where we just take the word. Schadenfreude. We didn't even change. We just took it. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we just took the word, and it retains its meaning. Kindergarten is literally garden of children. Literally.
Yeah.
Translates to garden of children. You know, garden. We changed the T to a D, but it's still garden. Garten auf Deutsch, right? Is garden.
For sure. For sure.
Man, this was a good exchange.
Yeah.
Kind of turned up a little bit. It's been a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good.
It was a really good, really good exchange. Really good exchange. So getting back though, I think that the best point made from both of us in the entire video was that the idea is that blackface has morphed rather than went away, right? It
Mm-hmm.
morphed into something which is interesting, right? Because this is what social media does. It speaks to what I was saying about entertainment in the 80s, right? The things that we accepted, and I don't even know that we realized we accepted them. Like if you look at the 21st century, you take a movie like Weird Science,
Uh-huh.
right? Can that stand? Like, a bunch of kids decide to create a hot woman. Revenge of the Nerds, right? Like, that the film is just so rapey. Even though we're talking about a cast that would be identified, the characters would be identified as liberal in today's society, and not the textbook definition of the term, but the term that most people commonly or generally accept. You understand what I'm saying? As liberal, and then like the movie is like rapey and like like you know.
I don't really associate any political values to these characters.
Oh, I do. I certainly can. I certainly do. Certainly. Certainly, I certainly do. I mean, that's something that we can break down. I mean, they were discriminated against such that they had to join a fraternity that only accepts black people. One of the characters was a member of the LGBT community, and it mattered because he was discriminated against for being such. You know, like, this is this is
Okay.
certainly based upon the general definition, the loose general definition of liberal. It would apply to these characters on a loose, not the hard textbook, you know, how we deep dive, just the loose general definition, which
Okay.
isn't my opinion the correct way to look at it. But, you know, just for purposes of conversation, I'm good with stamping that on that particular, just the cast members. You know, I
Yeah.
remember intimately the movie because it's something that I think about. You know, we actually should watch it and review it because it's something I think about when I'm like, man, this couldn't hold up today. These people
Right.
were engaged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's and there's a lot of things in the 80s that, come on, we both talked about, like Soul Man.
Yeah. No. I mean, no doubt. I mean, there's no. The list goes on. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
No. I mean, there's no. Yeah, there's no question that everything's changed from decade to decade. I mean, you can't.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the whole like Eddie Murphy's stand up and all that. You can't. You can't
I like Eddie Murphy
speak like
stand
that.
up.
Yeah,
I think
but
I
it
think
doesn't.
as we've discussed in some of our group sessions that comedy is the one safe space for everything.
No,
Unless that's an example of something that we've just casually accepted.
no, 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 no. Comedy. I mean, your man Jerry Seinfeld doesn't won't even like do stand up because of the way that the world has changed. No, I mean they're certainly not. They're not
But that's
safe
my
in comedy.
opinion, is that it should be. I'm not making
Then it should be.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
making the argument that it is. My opinion is that that's what I'm saying. Lack of, I didn't articulate that well. My opinion is that comedy should be the one area where, you know what I mean? And even then with a grain of salt, right? Like even then though, we should be
Yeah,
wary and
I'm laughing that you said that you love Eddie Murphy's comedy. Like we all do, but the
yeah.
stuff that he was saying in the '80s, you can't say that stuff now.
I mean, look at some of the stuff that Chris Rock said in the 90s, right?
Like I said, from decade to decade, things have changed. Like, yeah, you can't say that stuff either. He doesn't. Chris Rock doesn't get some pass that Eddie Murphy doesn't get. As a matter
Oh
of
yeah, I
fact,
know.
Eddie Murphy actually apologized for his stand up. I don't remember when it was, but I was kind of surprised to hear that he had apologized for his set back then.
Hmm. I wonder if Richard Pryor would apologize.
Well, okay, so that's
I doubt it.
interesting. Well,
I
well,
doubt
well.
it.
Let's go there. So, I mean, the one thing Richard Pryor did do was he stopped using the N word.
hmm
So, more than an apology, he changed up his whole language. And imagine someone like him who is very comfortable using that word, very comfortable being a raw, you know, what some call blue comic or, a cursing comic, is going to take that word out of his repertoire. So, yeah, who knows?
Hmm. Hmm. I wasn't aware that he stopped using the N word.
After he went to Africa. Yep.
Okay.
He felt bad. I don't know if he was using it during the show and he just like, I think the famous quote is, I looked out in that audience and said to myself, there are no niggers here, or something like that. But yeah, that had an effect on him. He stopped using it after that.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know that I 100% agree one way or the other, but I can't hate on a person's personal journey and experience and the
For sure.
conclusions they arrive at based
For
upon
sure.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely makes it a even more interesting story, right?
hmm hmm that's interesting. I didn't know that. I'd be I'm hopeful that the biopic for you, Mike,
Thanks. Thank you.
comes to light.
Yeah, I don't. It's not looking good for that thing. They've been talking about that thing for a long time.
Yeah, I've seen different actors associated with it, from Nick
Yeah,
Cannon to Mike Epps.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, can we get this done?
Well, if they get it done, it's gonna have to be done well. I'd rather it not come out at all than how they did the Tupac movie.
Well, yeah, the Tupac movie was whack,
It was garbage. Yeah.
but I think that there were some politics at play in that film.
Well, and some of it comes down to, and this is where I kind of this is where sometimes our people don't get it right. Is everyone gets excited about how much he looks like Tupac, and I'm like, just stop saying that. That's not what acting like. That's not what acting is about. Like,
Yeah, you need
yeah,
a perfect
he look.
storm of things to happen. Looking like the character just isn't the only thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you need a perfect storm of events. You need, if you find someone that looks like him, let's hope one, he can act. But it's not just the his acting, it's the overall production value for that film was just substandard.
Mm-hmm.
The script wasn't great.
Right.
You know,
No,
there's a
you're
lot
not
of
lying
things
about
that went
that.
into that.
You're not
That
lying
just
about that. No, when you said let's hope he can act, I mean, God, yes, like yeah, you better be able to act.
and I
Like
mean
you
he's
better
in another television show series right now that I plan on taking a look at on Netflix.
a series or a movie.
Yeah, it's a series called On the Street or something like I can't think of the name right now, but it just got put on Netflix maybe a week ago, week and a half ago.
I saw a movie he was in that RZA directed. That was actually pretty good. But this guy, this was his first movie. This guy wasn't even an actor. This is the kind of nonsense that they did. This
Well, that's
guy
the same with
wasn't
the guy who played Biggie, and he killed it.
well.
Like he
Now you're
reprised the role
now
of Biggie several times.
see
Well, I
now
don't
you're
say kill it.
talking.
He did good for a first time actor,
No, he did great. Gravy did
and
great.
he's reprised that role several times.
Yeah, well, like you said, there has to be a perfect storm, and like so. Okay, so Gravy obviously has some ability, whether it's natural or whether he's been working on his craft for a
Well,
while.
he'd
I
been a
don't know.
rapper prior to, right?
Yeah, yeah, Gravy, a Brooklyn guy. Yeah, he's been a rapper for a bit. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what his deal was. I don't know if he's just a natural or if he'd been working on his craft or both. But yeah, he was actually good. And not like out not and I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't outstanding, but he was like believable as like a big, you know, as a Biggie type character,
You know
right?
what impressed me about him? Because I said he was good. You said great. I didn't necessarily agree, but great is fine because he wasn't bad at all.
Wait,
What
did I say
impressed me
great?
about him, yeah, he was great. But what
Oh,
impressed me about him was his ability to act with his face.
dude, if you can't act with your face, like, get out of the acting game. People like talking is only one aspect of it. Like, if you can't emote, that's what I was saying about Denzel's son. Some of those scenes fell flat in Tenet because he wasn't giving us anything.
It is interesting because I like him.
Yeah, yeah, I like him too.
I like him in Ballers quite a bit.
I do, I do. I love him in Ballers. Um, when I think about what Denzel would have done with those scenes, I know that Denzel acts with his face, and he's constantly emoting. His son, is not there yet, which is fine. Which is fine. I mean, Denzel, has been in it for years, but it's one difference you can see amongst two actors.
Hmm.
But yeah, you got to be able to act with your face. So when you say that, that's a big compliment to Gravy. If you can, act without words.
Yeah, he certainly was really that was something that I don't know if it came natural to him, if he worked on it, but it was translated on film.
And it's what the interesting thing is Biggie's kind of like a subtle kind of character, right? Like he's not an over the top kind of character. So to be able to nail that energy and those emotions and make it believable is kind of a cool yet hard thing to do, right? Because someone who can't act would be like, oh, I can't do more than this. Biggie was laid back, and they wouldn't understand what they were doing wrong, right? That's
Hmm.
like Nas. Somebody was finally taking him to task about how horrible Nas was in Belly, and Nas said something about like, oh well, that's how I would have done it. Like, I'm laid back, like, and I'm like, no, that's not acting. Like, you don't put your own limitations into your character. You got to become that character.
Right,
You
right,
know?
right. Yeah, the emoting stuff was really strong from him.
Yeah.
Really, really strong. Which, you know, I was impressed with.
But back to the Tupac actor. I mean, the fact that he was much better in the movie, in RZA's movie, that bodes well for him. He could go on to be good.
What was that? Back to which one?
The character who played the actor who played Tupac. He's in a movie directed by the RZA about these guys like Robin Banks and stuff. It was on Netflix.
I'm sorry, I just got some bad news.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of the little homies is no longer with us.
Sorry to hear it.
Yeah, that's a surprise. Like I'm just trying to absorb that. Like that's a surprise. All right, processed. So, all right, what's next? We can keep going.
Um. Okay. Well, by the way, the name of that movie's Cutthroat City.
Yes, Cutthroat City.
Have you seen it?
I haven't watched it yet. I thought it was a series, like a 2-3 part series.
No. No, but it
I
was
haven't
pretty good.
watched it yet. I intend to. Oh, you watched it
Yeah, watched it a few weeks ago.
and you liked it.
Yeah, yeah, I was surprised because, you know, uh, I tried to watch Iron Fist years ago and it was garbage.
Iron Fist, the television series.
No, it was the RZA produced movie. Uh, the RZA produced. Oh, sorry, it's called The Man with the Iron Fists.
Oh yeah, I didn't dislike it, but I do like. It wasn't the best. Obviously, it wasn't the best movie. I enjoyed it because I like RZA's nod to old school Shaw Brothers kung fu flicks. So I was around for it.
Yeah, I was. I couldn't watch that. That was. Oh man,
I mean, I'm
that
not
was.
digging it out the crates to watch it again. If it was on, I'd probably watch it again though, Mike. If it was on and available, I
Yeah,
thought it was just a
probably.
good nod, a first attempt nod to old school kung fu, and I felt like, okay, keep them coming. You'll get better.
Yeah. No,
I know
I
Batista
definitely
was
didn't.
cast in it. It was one of Batista's first roles. He wasn't great in it. He didn't have to be. All he had to do was be big and, you know, a foil, so to speak.
Yeah, but
I mean, I just don't think RZA. It took RZA a long time for me to feel him as an actor. It just felt too forced. King of New York, not King of New York. The Frank White movie. He was good in.
oh yeah, I didn't even like that movie. But yeah, by
The
then,
Denzel film.
yeah, I didn't like that.
It was okay. He was good
It
in the
was
film.
it was it was boring to me. American Gangster. It's like, how did they make a movie about Frank White boring?
I mean, it was a good. They threw some good nods in it to the film about uh Bumpy Johnson.
I mean, whatever nods they did, I was also nodding.
You remember the Bumpy Johnson film, right?
Which one?
With Lawrence Fishburne.
Not Hoodlum.
Yeah, Hoodlum.
Hoodlum was dope.
Yeah, that I call those spiritual successors to each other.
Hmm. I
Because if you recall, Frank White replaced Bumpy Johnson. Bumpy Johnson was his mentor.
well, Hoodlum came out a lot earlier.
Yeah, I just call him a spiritual successor because Hoodlum was about Bumpy Johnson, and then the Denzel film, which had Bumpy Johnson in it, was about Frank White. So it's
I
like,
I see. Well, to me, if that's a spiritual successor, then they were backsliding.
Okay. There are certain films that were made by different producers and directors that, like, if you were ever to watch Lost Legion, I would tell you to go watch The Eagle, and then there's another film. And the reason why is because all three of those films give you three different perspectives of the same story.
Okay.
So when you put the three of them together, you just kind of get a bigger picture, even though they weren't meant to be sequels to each other. They weren't meant to be, you know what I mean? Like different producers, directors, all of that. It's just, it's about the subject matter is ego that was taken from the Romans emperor. And this, kind of took place, the historical Hadrian's Wall. This all took place in the exact same time period.
Hey, speaking of good stories, I started watching that show you were telling me about, the
Invisible City.
Invisible City. Yeah,
Hmm.
I got in like at least two episodes.
So what do you think?
It's good.
I
Yeah.
think the dubbing isn't great, but I do think the subject matter is pretty good.
Wait, the dubbing? You're watching it in English?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm watching it in.
My Netflix defaulted to English, so I didn't know. I
Huh.
realized that it's obviously a Spanish film or Spanish television
Oh,
series.
this is that weird Netflix defaulting thing again.
Well, because if I put one show to English, it defaults everything to the English audio.
Yeah, I don't like that it does that. I don't like that. I want to watch
So
it like however they intended me to watch it, and then take it from there.
so you're not you so you got a better perspective because you're not dealing with the obviously, it's obviously dubbed. Like it's obvious. It's not even like a good dubbing. It's
Oh
obvious. You
no,
know what I mean?
that's
But
bad.
but the subject matter is good enough that I'm like, okay. Like I enjoy, I don't think, I'm not calling this great. I think it's good and certainly worth my time.
Oh well, that's. I kind of feel like that's a tragedy. You're not even enjoying like the passion of the actors in this movie. You're like watching
TV
a bunch of
series.
people who, I mean, series. Yeah, you're watching people who know how to translate language.
But it's good so far. I enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. How deep are you in?
5 episodes.
Oh, you're five. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm only like three at the most.
Ah, yeah, so far I enjoy it. I'm
You know
glad you
what's
gave it a chance.
yeah. Well, you know what's interesting about yeah. See, this is the interesting thing about acting is it's universal, right? Like even though I have to listen to them speak a language I don't understand, and I have to read the words at the bottom. Everything else that goes into making it a good show, I can still appreciate,
Hmm.
right? Um, I have to say, this mermaid thing in the last handful of years, there's been more shows coming out about mermaids, but I feel like this one so far is the better one or the best one I've seen so far.
Mm.
Um,
I can't recall how soon you get to meet the mermaid.
yeah, don't say anything.
Yeah, I'm not.
Um,
I didn't know that you had already met because I just can't recall.
okay.
Because
Um,
for me, it's one. Whenever I watch a series like that, it's one series because I'm always skipping the intro.
okay.
You know what I mean? So I'll skip the intro. So then for me, it becomes a blur. Like, was this
Right.
episode 3? Was it? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Skipping the intro for sure. What was I gonna say? Shit, I forgot what I was gonna
Did
say.
you watch the Fairy Show?
The fairy show?
Yeah, Winx Saga just
No.
came. They just put it on about three weeks ago. It came on
Yeah, I've
January.
no, I've seen them. Yeah, I saw when it came out. I kind of looked at the preview and I never watched it.
Oh, I couldn't wait to watch it. I can't wait for the second season.
Oh, really? It's not like a kid show.
No, no, no. It's. I mean, it's as much of a kids show as say, uh, Hunger Games.
Okay, okay.
You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, I enjoyed Hunger Games.
Yeah, Hunger Games was cool.
Yeah, so we're taught that's I mean they're certainly in high school, but it's not it's a different type of high school, right? Like it's not even in on Earth. It's in
Right.
like a world where, fairies and not just fairies, but like evil things exist.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And the only people that are allowed, I'm not going to ruin the show for you. I'm just the only people that are allowed to go there are people who are either have a magic affinity or are aware of. You understand what I'm saying? And they got their own politics in there, and it's a dangerous world that they're in, and it's not. No, it's not just this like kids at all,
Okay.
at all, at all. I recommend it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. There's some good characters in there. There's some good scenes. I liked it. I liked it. I definitely liked it. If you like Invisible City, you'll like this. I think it's
Okay.
better than Invisible City so far.
I think.
I'm waiting for the second season. I was waiting for it to be put on Netflix, and when it was, as soon as it got put on, the day it got put on, I watched the whole season.
Something's coming out this Friday that looks pretty good. Oh, the um, the thing about Fred Hampton is coming out this Friday.
At a loss. Fred Hampton is
Black
name is
Panther.
recognizable. Okay, yep, okay.
That looks like that could be a very good movie.
Man, there's so many black people. I just get them all confused.
Yeah.
There's just so many of them.
There's a lot of us.
Oh, I was expecting a Richard F. Blackman moment.
Oh yeah. No. No, Richard F. Black. What's this movie called? Yeah, the one thing I like about the Black something about Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, that's something I'm interested in.
99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nah, I don't give Rotten Tomatoes any credence.
What's his name? Daniel Kaluuya, the Keith Stanfield. Oh, Jesse
Yeah,
Plemons is good too.
yeah, it's something that I've seen. I mean, I think that's hitting theaters though, right?
What's that?
That film, Judas and the Black Messiah.
No, I think it's going to be on. Isn't it going to be on one of these HBO Maxes or something?
Oh, I thought it was it. Well, if that's the case, it's because what HBO Max is doing is they're putting their theater releases on HBO Max day of.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be February 12th, HBO Max. It's going
Okay,
to be
so
dope.
it is a theater release.
Yep.
It's both.
Yep.
That's cool. That's cool. So I'm not happy with HBO Max.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't put new content on at the rate of the other streaming services.
Oh yeah, it's kind of yeah. You're right. Yeah, except for like a show here and there, it's kind of garbage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Netflix is the leader
Yeah.
of at least I don't know much about Hulu, so at this point, Netflix is the leader when it comes to having new content.
And then even when they put in old content, it's like a classic movie that you kind of get excited about being on
Yep.
Netflix.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm definitely happy with Netflix. I recommend Netflix. Some of the other stuff like Amazon Prime is even slow to give me new content.
Yeah, they don't have a lot.
I wish they did more originals like Netflix does.
Mm-hmm.
Like Netflix even produces its own original stuff. Or they'll buy something and say Netflix original, which is fair.
Yeah.
We bought the rights to it and brought and presented it to the world. You know what I mean? So that I think that's fair as well for them to do that.
Yeah, I think Bezos should start paying his fair share in taxes.
Oh, here we go. Here we
You
go.
know, one thing that I do like, that I do enjoy about watching TV shows or films with subtitles is it makes me pay attention, so I can't be like on my phone or messing around. I gotta actually be paying attention.
Yeah, I'm like 40 plus episodes into a television series that's subtitled,
40
and
plus.
yeah, the Pablo Escobar on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's got like 50 something episodes,
Damn.
50 something hour long episodes,
Yeah. How many
and it's
seasons is that?
I don't know because Netflix, obviously there were seasons to the show when in its
Mm-hmm.
original presentation, but Netflix
Mm-hmm.
doesn't break it up into seasons. It just has 50 episodes in a row.
That's weird.
Yeah, there's Netflix will do that sometimes. Some depending on like if they buy a show that's been around for say 5 or 6 years and has like 6 seasons, sometimes they won't break it down into seasons. Like for instance, Hunter x Hunter, right? Hunter x Hunter is an anime that I watch that has
Mm-hmm.
70 episodes, half an hour cartoon. They don't break it
Okay.
down into seasons. You just get 70 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then in other cases they'll break it down into seasons, which
Yeah, I feel like
sometimes I find that
that's kind of daunting. Like not having seasons,
oh,
just
for
so
me,
many
I'm cool
episodes.
because seasons don't necessarily matter to me. Content does. Like especially when I'm watching an anime. I don't like watching 12 episode anime. So a lot of time, and I will, but my fear is if it's only 12 episodes, I'm gonna watch it and not get. So I want to watch. If I watch an anime, I want to watch an anime that I know is going to have a conclusion. And sometimes, like I'll go on Netflix and I'll check an anime, and it'll have 12 episodes, and I'll have to go all the way to the 12th episode to make sure that it was just one season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or because I prefer my animes to have at least 25, 26 episodes, which is the standard for a good anime, right?
Yeah.
And so for instance, I'll give you an example, Food Wars, which is another thing that I have a problem with, right? Like Food Wars was bought by 3 different platforms. So Netflix will give you like the first 2 seasons, but they won't give you the third and fourth season because another platform bought it. But then you'll get the fifth and sixth season from Netflix. So then I have to go to HBO Max because they have the third and fourth season.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's bothersome.
Yeah, it's rough. That's rough for
It's
real.
definitely bothersome. It's like, oh, you didn't, Netflix bought Berserk #1 and #2 and #3, but I can't watch #4 on Netflix because HBO Max bought it. And instead of putting it at Berserk's are like 2 hour movies, anime movies,
Mm-hmm.
HBO Max broke it down into a television series.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, so I can watch the first 3 on Netflix and then I have to go to HBO Max to watch the 4th season. It's just aggravating when you
Yeah.
have several different streaming platforms vying for pieces of a television series.
Well, yeah, I think I'm about to eat some breakfast. Probably
Okay.
just
Yeah, I'm gonna
an
get ready to
apple or
get him up.
something.
I'm gonna get ready to go.
Okay. So,
All right.
yeah, let me know if this afternoon is open.
Yep, for sure. For
All
sure.
right, cool.
All right.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.